meeting to order. Start tonight with the Pledge of Allegiance. Allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. All right, first item on tonight's agenda is the consent agenda, tonight's agenda, as well as the meeting minutes from last month, May 20th, 2025. Are any comments, adjustments, or deletions that need to be made to tonight's agenda or last month's meeting minutes? Okay. Without anybody speaking up on that, we will move forward with a motion to approve tonight's agenda and the meeting minutes from May the 20th, 2025.
I make a motion to accept tonight's agenda and the meeting minutes of May 20th, 2025.
Okay, a motion and a second.
I'll second that motion.
Motion and a second. All in favor, signify by saying aye. Aye. All opposed? Carried. All right, the next item on tonight's agenda is citizen comments. If there are any citizens that would like to address the board, please step forward to the podium. Just keep in mind, we would request that you give us your name, your address, and keep your comments to 3 minutes.
My name is Elaine Wolf. I live at 5679 Church Road in Casco. I'd like to address the board one final time before we vote on the concrete situation. As the fires in Canada have shown us, the winds go where they will and carry whatever particulate matter with them. OSHA has described chemical dust as a hazard that irritates eyes, nose, throat, respiratory systems, and cause skin damage and lung cancer. According to the Casco Township Code of Ordinances, Section 14, airborne matter, there shall not be discharged from any source whatsoever such quantities of or contaminants or other materials which cause injury, detriment, or nuisance to the public or which endanger the comfort, repose, health, and safety of persons. Cement dust is a known carcinogen. It is airborne, and I pray that this committee votes to save Casco and its residents from contamination from a carcinogen. Thank you.
Any others? Okay. Moving on to the next item on the agenda, communications. I don't have anything particularly listed here. Nothing from your side until later, right? All right, we'll move on from communications. The first item under unfinished business is the special land use for Robert Clancy in the concrete crushing. Mr. Clancy and his associates has reached out to the board and asked that this item be postponed until next meeting when they can go in front of the ZBA. So at this time, without anybody here from his team, I would ask for a motion to postpone item number 1 to next month's meeting.
I got a question. If the ZBA approves it, do you need a meeting then?
Yeah.
You still need
Right, we still have to approve it
ZBA.
after
That's what
ZBA.
they approve. They're asking for several different items as part of their ZBA request, and just depending on the ZBA meeting, will determine if the special land use application is still required for them. Or if certain, if there's a waiver of certain standards for them. So it just depends what's determined.
I'll make a motion to postpone the special land use meeting to July 15th meeting.
Support. A motion and a second. All in favor, signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Aye. All opposed? Carried. Excuse me. The next item on tonight's agenda is the home occupation review, which is continued from April 15th meeting for a contractor's business at 3963 for Mr. Lawrence Kramer. Can you step up to the podium? Good evening, gentlemen. Good evening. Were you, Larry or Dakota, were you guys given a copy of Karen's most recent review?
I have an email.
Okay. So you understand the only stipulation that she still has outlined here in red?
Yeah, that needs to be in the barn.
And that's in the barn.
It is in the barn.
John, would you like me to go over my place update?
If you could, please.
So, since January, we've been reviewing Mr. Kramer's application for home occupation. And over the last few months, the applicant has come to planning commission meetings and provided the planning commission with information on how they are meeting or intend to meet the standards of this home occupation permit. And based on some information provided at the April meeting and the May meeting, I think the planning commission needs to make a determination on whether these kind of two outstanding standards are met. At the April meeting, the planning commission was informed that there is no longer a business. Now, at the May meeting, the applicant came back and they did say, we still want to pursue this home occupation application. I think the planning commission needs confirmation from the applicant that this is still more active business. That's what the intention of this ordinance is. And at the second meeting, the applicant did state, you're trying to move equipment into the barn. And they provided pictures to show that they're doing their best to comply with that standard of ordinance. You know, and preparing for this month's meeting, upon reviewing all the standards again, it does say home occupation shall take place within a completely enclosed building. Now, what that means is it has to be contained on all sides. It says completely enclosed. It doesn't, the language isn't vague. It doesn't say partially enclosed. It doesn't just say a building.
Okay, so what you're telling me now that because I don't have a front door, we're not complying.
It has to be enclosed on all sides.
Jesus fucking Christ, I knew this was gonna happen. So you guys want to all pay for my doors then?
No, Larry, please.
I mean, that's what she's saying.
Hold
Yes,
on.
we-
No,
Just hold on.
listen to what she's saying.
I did.
You don't have to have a door to completely enclose something. The object has to be completely inside the building. Okay? Can you tell me whether or not the excavator is completely inside the
So
building?
we have to back it up more to the building.
Yeah, we got probably about 5 feet that it's got to go.
John, I would clarify, it needs to be screened up on the sides.
See?
So whether, depending on what that screening is, it would be up to the applicant to determine that. But the way it is now, it's not completely enclosed.
So could we put a tarp on the side or something?
Oh, no, because everybody will bitch about that.
It's
It'll
just
be
the
nice.
Where is that door at?
I have a front door and I have a back door on it. It's a
Okay.
drive-through. But I haven't had a front door on that since we had horses, and that was probably 20 years.
And it's over for a long time.
It says completely enclosed building. The building has to have 4 walls or a door or something where you can say it's containing the things inside on all sides.
I know
I don't
this.
think you can interpret it any differently.
You know, we were told it's supposed to be in a barn. It's in a barn. Every time you come here, it's a different story. And we've gone through this countless times. And I'm real fed up with this. What are we gonna do? We're gonna close all 4 sidewalls and then what? We're gonna come up with another excuse? I mean, this is just getting ridiculous.
Well, I mean, you gotta look at it from our point of view.
I looked at it from every point, everywhere.
We've
You guys
asked you-
keep changing the.
Larry,
Can I have a moment to talk? We've asked you several times to put it inside the barn. Why didn't you clean out the rest of the stuff and make sure the machine's completely inside the barn? Then this is a different conversation.
No, it's
Now
not.
then it's
Conversation, 'cause
yes,
you
it
still don't
is.
have doors.
Yes, it is. It's about a door.
Oh, Jesus fucking Christ.
To me, it looks like you half-assed it. You
John,
put it all the way in the barn.
Did you or did you not tell me last time, put it in the barn?
Did you put it in the barn?
It's in the barn.
It's not fully in the
That's in the
barn.
barn?
It's not in the barn.
Oh, we're going sneaking around to my neighbors and taking pictures. Ain't that fucking wonderful?
That's our
You
job.
fucking pricks.
That's our job.
No, it's not. You guys do this bullshit.
Those are the ordinance officer's
You
job.
know what? Here, here,
Is that in the barn?
stop. Time
Is
out.
that in the barn?
Time out. Time out. Let's go and start going around this goddamn neighborhood. You guys start doing the same bullshit you're doing to me. What really excites you?
We're not doing anybody else right now. The applicant that's on the paper.
You know what? You guys just want to go and take a pick and nit at me. And that's it.
If that's what we were doing, we would have.
That's what you guys are doing.
We would have
Because
denied
you're
this
contractors
first
out in
meeting.
this damn
It would have been
township
denied
that
on
you're
the
not even
first
looking
meeting.
at.
Would have been
And this
denied
is
on the first
bullshit.
meeting.
This is absolute bullshit.
I'm sorry you feel that way.
No, it is bullshit. I don't care how you look at it, I don't care how you slice it.
Larry,
You wanna go over to my neighbors, you wanna start peeping in my fucking yard? That's bullshit right there.
I'm not gonna argue with you, okay? Unfortunately, the ordinance is still not met.
Okay, so, when I put that thing in there, so the boom's all the way in, I'm not putting fucking doors in this barn. I don't have $800 to $1,000 per side to put doors on. And if I put a goddamn tarp on there, every one of you are gonna sit here and bitch. That's an eyesore. Because I'll have a neighbor or two bitching.
Karen, what does the ordinance say specifically about enclosure? I mean, does it have to be a wood door or?
It just says no occupation shall take place within an enclosed building.
And it is enclosed.
Complete, it says an enclosed.
No, because there's no doors on it. That's not enclosed.
If that machine is completely inside the barn, the boom's inside, I don't have a problem.
Okay, so I don't have to have doors, so now we're not complying with enclosed area.
Hold on.
I'm just telling you my opinion.
And then you guys come back and change it again. Jesus Christ. You know, I've done every damn thing, I've sold every fucking thing. What else do you guys want me to do?
Let me ask you,
Because I can put this thing in the goddamn barn and you'll come back with something
let me
else.
ask you something. She made 2 points. Fine, enclosure, we're gonna go back and forth on that. Do you have an active business?
Yes!
Okay.
We still have my EN numbers, we still have every damn thing. Since when the hell did you guys ever ask me for my EN numbers?
I didn't.
I told just the other
Larry,
day.
stop! Stop, or I'm gonna dismiss you and we're gonna deny it. I'm done. I'm
So
trying to be
what?
responsible, reasonable.
So what? I'm trying to
I asked you if you have an active business. You
Yes.
answered- Okay,
I
fine.
have bank accounts, I have EN numbers, I have everything.
Okay, fine. It's an active business. Done. I have to ask the questions to validate the information that she
I
identified.
validated this already at the beginning because the original application had to have it.
Move on to the next question.
We need to completely understand if he's able to get this machine inside the building, what does enclosed look like to the ordinance? Is a tarp reasonable? Is 2 sheets of plywood reasonable? Does it have to have some type of a curb appearance? Or if he can back that thing in and hang a tarp over the front of it or nail a couple pieces of plywood to the front of it, is that acceptable?
An enclosure is a building that contains the thing on all sides. If you can see it from the outside, and if you can peer into that building without it being screened or covered, I would say that it's not enclosed. It doesn't specify that it has to be a certain kind of door, but it has to be fully contained.
But, okay, so and I understand, and I'm not trying to argue for or against.
Does it
However-
specify exactly what an enclosed building is? No, it doesn't. We don't have a specific definition, but I would say you need, it has to be screened on all 4, on all sides.
I got a question as a citizen that.
Hold on, sir, please. You can ask a question during the citizen comments portion.
But it might be too late. What's sticking out? Is it to the east?
It's to the east.
To the back of the
Big
property.
deal.
Exactly. No see it unless they go Snoopy and my
Stop,
neighbor's
stop,
back.
right now. We're gonna do this during citizen comments, if comments wanna be made. This isn't an open forum.
So the front here has a door, right?
Yeah, that is a door opening. That door has been on in 20 years.
This is, so, if I'm correct, this is like with my back to the road, looking into the barn at the front entrance.
And to be honest, I don't know what the hell the big deal is if 5 foot of the boom is sticking out,
Right.
or if 100 feet of the boom is
Because
sticking
the
out.
reality of it is the actual body of the machine is in the building.
I understand that. Unfortunately, I have to go by what's written in black and
Well,
white. It
I-
says full enclosure of equipment. Full means full.
Okay, well, John, how about if we do this?
I can get that.
I've got rules and I got regulations too on my property, it's called privacy.
But the problem is though, is that if we put this thing in there, is there gonna be another nitpick thing? Because
Yeah,
this barn hasn't had doors on it in 20 years. Nobody's looking to put doors on it to begin with, and the doors on the barn was never an issue to begin with, and now all of a sudden, this is a new thing. And it is contained by 4 walls, just because it doesn't have doors on it is just quite nonsense. I mean, if you guys are gonna be that nitpicky.
Oh, they
No, I mean, and that is right, because technically, you could have a door on there and the door could just remain slid open
Correct.
24/7.
I mean, I can paint a picture.
That's where I'm coming from, that if you guys, if the thing was all the way in the barn before this meeting started, this is a different conversation.
If everybody wants to go and continue peeping around on my property, we'll end up in court because that's an invasion of my fucking privacy. And you guys have no right doing that. None whatsoever.
But I understand something. We didn't do that. We're not the enemy here.
That's good,
Okay,
because
we
whoever did it,
provide-
which is Chuck, he'll be going to court along with fucking Jim.
Fine. We are providing the information. We have to go off of what we're providing.
The problem is though, is that nobody's gonna put doors on this thing. So I need to know if this is a waste of our time. If we get this thing fully in there or not.
Because you're still gonna see straight through. I don't have $1,000 a door to go and put out what everybody is gonna consider a proper door. Because I can throw a tarp sign just like Ron says, it doesn't say what it is. But I guarantee there's gonna be neighbors, 2 of them now, that are gonna fucking piss them off because it's an eyesore. If I throw tarps on there, it's an eyesore. Okay, so now it's an eyesore. Now what are we gonna do? Then you guys are gonna bitch and piss them all off. Well, we gotta replace these doors, it's gotta look proper. And that's exactly what you guys will do.
Well, I would,
It doesn't matter, you'll go by what they say. Say what all this is about.
We went by what the ordinance says every
We have
time.
gone by the ordinance every time we've been in here. I've been with you guys and I've been with you guys. They came back in here, it's another story again.
Larry, does
I
the
would
ordinance
say-
say full enclosure?
You know
Yes,
what?
it does.
You said by yourself,
Stop.
get it in the barn.
I did. You're
Right,
right.
we did.
You didn't. You got it.
Yes, we did, we got it in the barn. Just like you said, John.
Stop, Larry.
Never mind.
So-
This is going nowhere.
You have-
Because every time it's a different
Larry,
story.
stop.
I would suggest, like, if everything is,
Yeah.
if he meets the Bruin ruling, and he's in the barn, and if you are going to target, and we approve it based on tarps. could
I'm
we-
not talking.
Can we not?
Target.
If I lived across the street, I wouldn't want to look at, I would rather look at.
I would
open
suggest,
barn.
just to say it would be black, not red.
If I lived
Yeah, but then it's
I would
all
go give a shit.
But if you use the.
Everybody needs to start learning how to mind their own goddamn business.
I don't disagree with that, but that's not the world we live in.
Yeah.
Yeah, well, it's gonna start being the world.
The problem with the tarp though is everybody knows it's just gonna blow off.
Yeah, I don't think.
That's what I'm saying, I'd
that's
rather
not-
see it inside the barn.
That's why I need to know if I'm wasting my time here. If we get this thing in the barn, if it's gonna be fine, because it's gonna not have open. That's just kind of where we're at.
And what are we gonna do when I have that thing outside the barn and I'm using it? And I park it for 10, 15 minutes? All of a sudden, everybody's bitching about it.
That's different.
You know, what are we gonna do then?
That's different.
No, it's not.
That's
It's
what
a,
it is.
God, you guys.
I just want to say it's a joke.
I'll put this thing 5 more feet into the barn. And I don't give a shit if that boom is sitting straight down that wall. If it does not get approved, we'll be in court. How's that?
I wish you would have done that before tonight.
You know what? We did what you said, John. Get it in the barn. That's exact word. Was that his exact
It's not in the
word?
barn. It's not in the barn. It's not.
I told you.
in the barn.
it's a, nobody is, so that's street view.
Right.
I mean, that barn has been open since I remember, not a big deal. I don't know that either one is a straight shot view because there's trees and everything. So I don't see people stopping and having a picnic in the road. And are complaining about the barn and have a door shut. From the other side, what this is, you know, the neighbors on Putty Gut now are looking at that instead of being completely in the barn. It wasn't completely outside. It was completely outside the barn.
Yeah, that's straight from Chuck's. So Chuck's gonna be in fucking court too. I'm sick and tired of everybody playing the fucking role, look at my shit. Let's maybe start paying attention to our own shit.
All right, so where do we go from here? I mean,
It'll be this, and then next go on to something else.
I'm going to fully in the barn.
So realistically, so last time I was here, it wasn't running. So now obviously it's running.
It barely is running.
When we say it's not running, it takes like 5 minutes to move it 15 feet.
So how much time would it take you to move that stuff out?
I could go there right now
And
and
move it out of the barn.
probably move it back in the barn.
Yep, but I mean realistically, how much time? I don't know, 7 days? Or, I mean, what do you?
I can have somebody who can. Maybe even Monday morning.
So can we approve this with a timeline if the ordinance officer drives by on Tuesday and sees that it's still outside of the barn, he can be ticketed? How does that work?
Well, I can't speak for what code enforcement can do. I can only advise you that, what is the language in your zoning ordinance? You're the planning commission, you guys make the final decision. But you should just be aware of what's in your ordinance and is what information is provided or is we're asking them to do, is it going to meet that language? You know, unfortunately, there's not much wiggle room for that aspect, I think, in this one.
Well, see, I disagree with that. So,
Okay.
Because the barn hasn't had doors on it in forever. And so in my mind, if I'm him, what's to stop me from building a 2x4 frame, nailing a blue tarp to it,
Right.
and putting it on the rail and opening and shutting it and saying, well, my barn's...
Go on, my barn is blow open and shut.
I would advise that the planning commission have a full discussion on this. Some people are talking, if everyone can kind of come to agreement, so the applicant is aware of, you know, what is being asked, what is the planning commission asking?
How about if we just all use common sense? Do we do that? Because I'm really sick and tired of not using it.
it's very interesting to figure this out.
There's no figuring it out.
Larry, listen, just be quiet for a minute. Or maybe go outside and let your son speak for you, because he's...
It doesn't matter, because you guys are still going to continue making it fucking difficult.
We're trying to make this work for you. If you don't want to take it, shut it down right now.
But there's no common sense left going here. The damn barn has not been enclosed with doors on the front and back since the day it was built.
We're trying to figure out...
And everybody now wants a blue tarp, they want this, they want that, and it ain't gonna happen.
If you want us to make a decision on this, you're either gonna have to stop talking or go outside and let Dakota talk for you. Otherwise, I'm gonna call for a vote right now.
Dakota, if you can get him outside, we can probably work this out. If he's gonna
Let's
sit here...
work this out right now.
Stop, then be quiet and let us work it out.
There's no.
Don't say nothing, I just need to know this one answer. Because
Bill, what's your position on this? You know, if it's in the barn.
If he can get that boom in the barn, I don't give a shit if it's got doors on it or not.
Mm-hmm.
And I know that goes against some screening things, I'll file to change that myself. He hasn't had doors for 20 years, hell, I've had a barn up for 5, I had to close the doors half the time.
Yeah, and my thing with that is
Nobody cares.
So it hasn't had doors on it for 20 years, and now all of a sudden, a machine that was sitting outside is now inside, that people were complaining about is now inside, and now the barn's an issue. Well, the barn was an issue before when it didn't have doors,
This is
but
true.
now it is.
This is true.
So, what do you want? Do you want the machine to sit outside and look at that, or do you want this? Because in my opinion, there's only really maybe one neighbor across the street is gonna be able to see this thing. When it's I've driven by and looked at it several times. The neighbors on Buddy Gut should not be able to see that machine unless they're standing in the back corner of the property and looking directly at the barn, which I don't think it's gonna affect their patios or any of the other stuff, barbecue that they're doing at their house, if it's inside the barn without a door.
Yeah, I don't need.
Jim, what's your opinion?
I think you pull a vote on it now and give them conditional approval if it's the damn thing all the way in the barn.
So you got this. All right.
And make a
Dan,
conditional vote on it.
Dan, I think I understand your position.
Not anybody else's word, somebody else goes and takes a damn picture of it and makes sure it's all the way in there. I don't care whether you're worried about sneaky neighbor or whatever.
Well, I don't want to take pictures of the damn thing, it'll be in the barn.
So what's your
Could've been there in the first place.
Get it in March.
Okay. I think it's a unanimous opinion of this board that if that machine is fully in the barn, and I mean every square inch of the machine in the barn, that we're not worried about having a door on that end.
And can we have something in writing saying?
Well, you're gonna get a vote.
We're gonna do a vote, conditional, let's put the damn thing in the barn.
All right, I just want to make sure that the barn doors will never become an issue again. That's all I care about on that part.
And then let me ask one thing, because this is the real kicker here. Yeah, you can shake your head all you want, I know my fucking neighbors. They're gonna sit, just like they see that picture, they're still gonna see that fucking machine. And it's gonna be all the way in the fucking barn, and they're still gonna bitch.
They can bitch all they want to.
Well, it's too late now. What's the difference then? They're gonna bitch either way about anything.
Because you're following the rules. You're just following the rules.
So don't worry about it.
Once you follow the rules, people can bitch all they want.
Well, I follow the rules
There's
too,
no merit.
and look where it got me.
We're right back in the same spot. Do you want us to vote or don't you?
Let's do it.
All right, somebody want to make a motion on this?
Yeah, Jesus Christ. Roy.
For the love of
I
God.
make a motion to approve the home occupation review at 3963 Church Road for Lawrence Kramer Jr. and applicant Dakota Kramer, with the condition that the case excavator is completely inside the barn by Tuesday, June 24th, 2025.
I'll second that.
Okay, a motion and a second. All in favor, signify by saying aye. Aye. All opposed? Carried. And 1 week to get the barn machine in the barn, otherwise the approval will be revoked.
And then what are we gonna do? Wait till next month for the board meeting to get the full approval, or?
You just
No,
got
that's
a full
okay.
approval.
No, you got a contingency plan.
Yeah, well,
Well, once you meet the contingency, then the approval is full.
All right, so we don't have to come back in here and worry about it.
so do I send that to Brandon then?
Please.
All
All right, let's go.
right,
Let's
thank
go
you.
get the fucking thing in and done with this bullshit.
Okay, next item on the agenda, unfinished business, is the proposed ordinance amendments. Primarily section 84 for home occupation regulations.
So I provided an updated draft of the suggested changes to the home occupation ordinance based on feedback that we had at the May meeting, where it sounded like you guys kind of wanted to explore looking at two-tiered home occupation regulations, having kind of like a type 1, which would be something that maybe doesn't involve any kind of accessory buildings. Could be something like a music teacher or similar to the gentleman who came in with building guitars. The language I put in there is similar to what we currently have in our ordinance. It says type 1 home occupation shall be permitted in all residential districts and are subject to review and approval by the zoning administrator. This type of home occupation requires a minimal dedicated square footage of the home and only employs the residents of the property. Type 1 home occupations must meet the following requirements. A, the home occupation shall take place within the dwellings and shall be fully enclosed and exclude attached garages or areas of resources. B, the area devoted to the home occupation shall not exceed 30% of the first floor area of the principal building. C,
Karen, can I pause you right there, just kind of address some things as you're going through this?
Sure.
So like in this very first one, home occupation shall take place within a dwelling and shall be fully enclosed and excludes attached garages, patios, and breezeways. So if somebody had a small little business they wanted to do in their garage, their attached garage in their house, they can do it in their living room, but they can't do it in their garage.
For type 1, for type 2, I want to use.
But type 1 would be like the guitar repair guy, right? So what if he doesn't have a spare bedroom and he just wants to turn his garage into a small little workshop?
Planning commission chooses that's the way they want to go.
I mean, I just think we gotta be careful about how restrictive we make these, because then it basically, the ordinance allows for it, but it makes it so hard to meet all the requirements that you basically aren't allowing for it.
A lot of communities do just restrict it to the principal structure and exclude, your garage or other stuff. Also, take into account that if you have a garage, we don't want suddenly all the things that are in your garage to maybe have to be moved out, The purpose of this tech one is possibly to be viewed as minimal, but we can change that.
Just a thought.
Yeah, this is just draft language. Item C, no article or service shall be sold or offered for sale on premises other than those incidental to personal services offered by the occupation who was produced by the occupation. The things in black are what we currently have in ordinance, so that's the new stuff. D, the home occupation shall not require internal or external alteration or construction features, equipment, or machinery that are not compatible with the district in which it is located. E, there shall not be any employees other than the residents of the principal residence. F, one unilluminated sign shall be permitted, which states the name, occupation, phone number of the owner. G, occupation shall not be detrimental to the surrounding uses and overall character of the district. H, no storage or disposal of hazardous substances. I, customer visitation shall be by appointment only, limited to one customer per appointment. Off-street parking must be provided for visitors, so we're not having people park on the road. J, the occupation shall not produce noise, waste, odors, vehicular traffic, or similar side effects which are not customary to the district. And then we get into type 2 home occupations. Are home occupations that may extend into an accessory building and employ non-residents of the property. This may include contractors or moderate scale artisans. Special land use approval shall be given upon the finding by the planning commission that the proposed home occupation complies with the criteria found in section 06 and following standards. Again, we have language shall take place within a completely enclosed building. The home occupation incidental to the residential use and shall not exceed 30% of the gross floor area of the principal building. The area of an accessory building devoted to the home occupation shall not exceed an area equal to the ground floor of the principal dwelling.
Okay, hold on, I know that's one that's already in here. But, so for instance, somebody has a 1,200 square foot house and an 1,800 square foot pole barn, and they want to run a little lawn care company out of their pole barn. That would be not permissible because their pole barn is bigger than, or they'd have to say, all right, only X amount of square feet of my pole barn is dedicated to my business.
Something like that.
I mean,
I mean, that limits the size of your business based on how big you build your house.
right, and then
Aaron,
you're,
you know what the,
So the
what
guy.
is the background to that, like why it reads that way?
Because that's how it's been in ordinance.
Yeah. But I mean, has there been,
is there a reason behind it? I mean, there's some kind of rationale.
I think the thinking is, the use is supposed to be incidental to the residential use. If you're starting to use more space for your business, you actually have the space for living. Then you start to question, well, is this more of a commercial operation? Is the residential use incidental? I think that is the point of having that size limitation.
I would get putting a square footage limit on a building or a percentage of the outbuilding itself, but I mean, we're punishing a guy that built a 600-foot house or a guy next door who built a 5,000-foot house and then.
Or you're going to get a bunch of, depending on how serious people are, you're going to get a bunch of applications for additions. People put addition on their house so they can use more of their barn for their business, to offset the percentages. Just,
if they can afford to do it.
yeah, I mean, it seems overreaching to me to determine how much of their pole barn they can use.
So when
For
you're
the
average
business.
1,500 square foot house, what are you talking?
30% of 1,500 is like 450 square
What can you
feet.
do with 450 square feet?
450 square feet barn.
Well, no, that's as much of the barn that you can use,
Of the.
regardless of how big the
So
barn is.
yeah, you're right, that's not very much
You could, I mean, 450 square feet, you couldn't even park a truck and trailer. If you were a sole lawn care owner, you got a truck and a trailer, and you pull it in your barn at the end of the night, you're exceeding 30% of a 1,500 square foot house.
No, for the accessory building, it can be equal to the ground floor of a principal dwelling. So if your home is, you know, if the ground floor is 1,500 square feet, you can use 1,500 square feet of your barn. If it's inside your house, then the principal dwelling, you can't exceed 30%.
Wait a minute.
You can, home occupation is incidental to residential.
The area of an accessory building devoted to the home occupation shall not exceed an area equal to the ground. Okay, so that's an equal. The home occupation incidental to the residential use.
I get it.
So in the house
In the
is the
house.
only place where the 30%
So
requirement
you
is.
can have your office in
Okay.
there.
All right,
and then-
I'm sorry, I guess I misunderstood.
And then you would use the whole, so you could use the whole 1,500 square foot home barn with your 400 square. I get it.
Unless you got a two-story house and your first floor is only 750. You know, that's where I don't
It
like
goes, it
this.
goes according to the first floor?
I mean, ground floor.
Square footage of
What
your
if
house.
what if you don't have a pole barn and you're running, would you say a lawn care?
Yeah.
And you have your truck and trailer parked in your driveway?
If you don't have a pole barn, you're already not conforming because it's, according to this, it has to be completely enclosed as well.
Right.
So you'd have to have some type of, you'd have to have the trailer inside. So you have
So you couldn't even park.
an influx of hoop buildings, so people could park their lawn care trailer at their house.
So, yeah.
The home occupation shall not require internal or external alterations or construction features, equipment, or machinery that are not compatible with the district in which it is located. Number 6, the occupation may employ up to 2 non-residents for business operations. Off-street parking for employees must be provided and must not interfere with the availability of off-street parking for personal vehicles of the residents. Number 7, the repairs and or servicing of vehicles, including recreational vehicles or other similar equipment, shall not be allowed as home occupation. Repair and maintenance of the applicant's business equipment and vehicles is permitted as an incidental activity during normal business hours with the host.
So there's no like small mower repair, small like lawnmower repair, is that?
Yeah, I mean, that's a, there's a lot in number 7, and Sue, you bring up a valid point. I mean, we're a county in which ORVs are legal to operate on the roadway, but now we're telling people that if they wanted to start a little, you know, four-wheeler, dirt bike repair shop or something of that nature, that they couldn't do it. Which I don't know how I feel about that. And then also, a business would be permitted to work on their equipment and vehicles as an incidental activity during normal business hours. So if I'm at work all day till 5 o'clock and my mower breaks down the last job and I come home, I can't fix it at night to be ready for the next day because now it's past normal business hours, even though I'm inside of a fully enclosed building.
I just feel like so many of these are catered towards more of city life, not rural.
I agree with you.
Casco Township, farm, I mean, majority of our property is farmland.
If we're making notes on some of them, going to like the B above, I do think on number I think no matter what, that has to be limited to 2 people per appointment.
For
Just
type
my
1?
opinion. Yeah, for the type 1, for 2 people per appointment, because if I'm an accountant, let's say, and I'm gonna do
Hairdresser.
somebody's taxes, or I'm a hairdresser, or I'm even I'm making a widget and I'm selling it. I make an appointment for you to come get your widget, and I live in Casco, you live in Warren. Most women, men too, I shouldn't say that, women or men, are not gonna go to some stranger's house on their own to buy that item or pick that item up. I think that should be 2 for sure. It's just-
I guess as customer, I imagine a vehicle.
Yeah, or limited to 1 vehicle.
Yeah.
Yeah, I can see the vehicle, but not the person. I just think that's a really good finding.
Have you ever seen where there's, like acreage restrictions on this stuff? I feel like most of this stuff is gonna be,
R1.
if it's enforced, it's gonna be from a complaint. And so, like, if you have-
acreage, and in general, if you're gonna allow, if you're gonna allow home occupations, they have to be in a residential district. And probably gonna be non-conforming, properties or, I don't think there should be an acreage limitation to who can have a limitation.
Right, but I was just curious if you could.
At what point,
With certain types, I mean, I don't think anyone in the trailer park should be opening up a RV repair shop.
Right.
But it shouldn't be a problem for someone with 20 acres and 100 pole barns to do it. You wouldn't even
There are
know.
It shouldn't be a problem.
some properties where like you see 20 cars in their backyard.
well,
I don't get that, like, there are some properties that I've seen, it's like, well, there's the.
They're having part.
They're having a party. It's gonna
I just
be
have a real hard
fun.
time with us trying to enforce Joe from having a lawn care company with his truck and trailer that he gets up every morning, leaves at 7 o'clock, comes back at 6, 7 o'clock at night, wakes up and does it all over again, when John, his neighbor, doesn't have a business, but has a bunch of junk cars or tractors sitting around in his property or out back or whatever, like,
bolts falling off the trailer, I mean, there's.
I feel like all this focuses on nitpicking on this stuff. I don't like.
Well, the other concern that I have is, I mean, where do you draw the line as to operating a business? I mean, what if it's just a guy that just has a take-home truck? What if a guy works for Dan's Excavating, he's got a take-home service truck, brings it home every day. He's not operating his business out of his home, he's just bringing home his company vehicle. I mean, and you got people complaining, oh, this guy's operating a business because he's got a company vehicle here and blah, blah, it's like.
That's a totally different, like, cities have rules against,
In the definition, I added some language, the first part, home occupation, any activity or hobby is carried out for profit within the walls of the dwelling or accessory building, which is customary incidental and accessory to the dwelling unit that requires dedicated square footage for business operations and is entrepreneurial in nature. Home occupations may involve customer visitation. Employees of a company can allow the option of working remotely at home and not considered home occupation. You can tweak that to include, if you're an employee for another company and whether the thinking is this is your truck, you're going to park it here, so long as it's allowed in the district, they're not a home occupation.
I just want to make sure, clear on certain things, because,
But there's always something that's going to come.
of course. All right, let's, Karen, if you could, let's keep going through this here. You were at 8.
Customer visitation shall only take place.
Wait. Let's
And number 9,
8.
part C. Customer visitation shall only take place between 9 a.m. and 7 p.m. and the number of visitors at a given time shall not exceed what is characteristic of the neighborhood. Off-street parking must be provided for visitors.
Can you read 8? I think we skipped
Sure. Service activities that involve the use of a commercial vehicle with a rated capacity of less than 1 ton for off-premise operations shall be limited to one such vehicle. Any additional equipment or supplies such as plows or mowers must be stored within an accessory building while on the premises. Moreover, parking for a commercial vehicle must not interfere with the availability of off-street parking for personal vehicles at the site.
The only thing I would change here is with a rated capacity of less than 1 ton, because that pretty much excludes every commercial vehicle. And so now, unless it's nothing, right? I don't think you need a capacity if you're going to allow a commercial vehicle, whether the commercial vehicle is a 26,000 pound dump truck or an 80,000 pound dump truck, it's still a dump truck. The GVWR rating means nothing to the people that are driving by seeing it sit there or being in the building or whatever. I know the old verbiage, or we got into this at some point, where there was some verbiage about trailers, commercial vehicles and trailers. Has that been deleted or is that in a different
No,
section?
that's from a different section. That's section 66. Section 66. A single commercial vehicle not exceeding a licensed gross vehicle weight of 26,000 pounds or semi-truck tractor may be parked on a parcel in the A1 requirements. The parcel must be 2 acres or greater. Commercial vehicles must be operated by the occupant of a residential dwelling. Commercial vehicles exceeding a gross weight of 10,000 pounds, including but not limited to truck tractors, shall be parked on the side or rear yard and at a distance greater than 100 feet from the principal building of any neighboring residence. No commercial trailers or semi-trailers may be parked in any residential district. And in no instance shall a commercial vehicle be parked within a designated right-of-way or public place. That's what you have for off-street parking.
So that ordinance directly contradicts some of the language in this new ordinance. Because in theory, as a home occupation permit, you could be a owner-operator of a semi-truck and run that truck out of your house. And you have your little office in your house where you do your billing and that. And according to this, it would be permissible as long as that truck can be parked in a building. But according to that, it's not permissible. So these two need to correlate, or we're going to continue to have.
See, well, I know you guys have talked about examining section 66. Is that something that we also want to review as well?
Absolutely, because even if this doesn't change at all, that's still very poorly written and contradicts itself. Based on somebody probably not fully understanding GVWs and semis and trailers and all of those types of things. So yeah, I think that needs to be evaluated and make sure that it is cohesive with whatever this may change to. Okay, you went over 9, 10, 11, 12, 13. Those are all what is currently on the board, but let's go through them anyways.
Number 10, one non-illuminated 6 square foot sign shall be permitted, which makes state level name, occupation, phone number, people name. 11, the occupation shall not be detrimental to the surrounding use and overall character of the district in which it is located. Number 12, no storage or disposal of hazardous substances shall occur as a result of the proposed occupation that is not customarily found in a residential area. And number 13, the home occupation shall not produce noise, waste, odors, or vehicular traffic or similar side effects in which the opinion of the planning commission is not customary in a residential district. Such occupation shall comply with performance standards contained in this ordinance. I would recommend, at the very least, updating the language for the signs in general. You're not supposed to be regulating the content of signs. You can regulate the square footage, materials, and whatnot. But we shouldn't be telling them what they put in their signs.
I agree with that.
Yeah, I don't care what they put on there.
Yeah, if you can make that change, I think that's a good point. In both A and B. And the changes you propose are kind of your opinion of the best from the other townships and surrounding communities that you've compiled for us here, correct?
I believe, based on the discussion we had in June, that these would be good ideas to talk about, especially when we're talking about having a two-tier. How are the two tiers going to be different? Where does one stop and the other one start? And, type 1 is I would argue probably the less intense one, only residents, with this language only taking place in your principal structure. If you guys want to allow, if you have an attached garage or whatever, if you want to allow that, that language could be changed.
I'd like to add that attached garage. I think that there's.
And customer visitation, 2 customers per appointment.
Anyone that's, keep going back to the guitar example, anyone that works with wood needs a shop, and not every house has a basement.
To be any garage, but
Yeah.
would attached matter, like, is it?
Well, I think that, that's limiting you to the size of the operation, where if it got a larger, you know, we wanted to have a dedicated shop, then you would apply for a type 2. You know, you're kind of beyond the scope of
Yeah,
the
you're
type
right.
1.
That's my first question.
Within a completely enclosed building would be unattached garage.
Right.
Yeah. So does number 7, like, do we have to specifically state number 7 at all?
Number 7.
Number 2, type 2.
And I think people want to avoid having a auto shop.
We limit it to small equipment.
If you guys believe that that's something that would be customary to the district.
Tractors, I mean, there's people that prefer tractors. I mean, they're aging, they don't really buy anything anyways.
If we want to limit the size and I guess how many
Yeah, well, one vehicle, water tractor's not even 10 boats that they could work on.
Whether they gotta be enclosed, they have to be enclosed. If you're working on so many that you can't enclose them.
Yeah.
Right.
The vehicle that you're working on has to be in that enclosed vehicle. So whether it's 10 little push mowers or one car, it has to be in your garage.
I don't have issues with that. I used to live next to a junk collector that was working on 20 cars at a time, and it was a nightmare for me
Oh, yeah, and
selling my house. But, you know, they didn't have a problem with it because he was working on them. They never moved or just kept collecting, but.
Right,
They
it
need
goes
to
on
collect
to
once you're
insurance.
done.
Yeah,
It's laid on.
I don't have any problem preventing that from happening in our district, but at the same time, I don't want to become an HOA about it either.
Right.
There's a reason I live out here and not in Chesterfield, and it's a small subdivision, where they tell me how like, oh, I can put my garage in.
So I'd like to see that kind of reworded a little.
Yeah. So I think a lot of this, when you look at it closely, that worded to protect property values, you know, for your neighbors, but also, you know, become a little maybe less restrictive because we are out in the country, we all moved out here for freedoms and, you know,
This is true.
if I wanted someone to tell me how to live, I'd be living under a red flag.
Right.
And this type 2, it is a special land use. So it would allow you guys to also use the special land use criteria
So it
as
means
well. So it's a bit more your decision.
we can set,
Subjective.
yeah, we could set instances where they would have to fall under certain, I mean, like we did with Larry, you know, as long as you get it in there by this time, or, you know, you can't
As
fall
long as the
without
language
this.
supports that type of discussion.
And
Right.
does the special land use stay with the property? It stays with the property, don't it?
It's special land use. It depends what the conditions are.
And then and marijuana is its own
That's a
animal.
Okay. Does anybody else have anything they'd like to add to this proposal?
I think, I don't know, some of the changes we discussed it.
Well, Karen, if you could update to reflect some of the changes that we discussed tonight, we can re-review next month, see if we have it dialed in to move forward with next thing, we'll be putting it up for public hearing, correct?
Correct. Once we have a final doc, then it
So
goes to
in
the
the,
hearing.
as you said with the signs not stating specifically, that was under type 1 and 2.
That one is, yeah.
Okay. So we would just take out that.
Just
state-
what they can put on.
Yeah.
Anybody else have anything on that? I know last month we talked about any other potential ordinances that, you know, could be or should be reviewed for, the current time. Is there anything that, other than that on-street, off-street parking ordinance that we just talked about with Karen? Anybody else have any other ordinances that we feel need to be re-reviewed. Okay, we'll leave it at that for now. Try to get through these ones and see what else comes up. The next item on the agenda is new business. There is no new business tonight. The next item after that is a report from committees. Gina, anything from ZBA? Or, I'm sorry, from the board? I'm sorry.
No, but I did go to a St. Clair County Road Commission meeting regarding the roundabout on Marine City Highway in Palmsville.
Okay.
And that is going to start in June, this month, toward the end of the month, and should be completed October 17th, 2025. And they talked about, all the people that are involved and who's doing what, and yeah, the total amount, the total contract amount is $1,259,709.66.
Wow. Do they happen to say anything about the Marine City Highway and Church Road intersection? I noticed the other day they had
So
some.
this meeting is only about the road.
Only about the road.
Yeah.
The other day they had some traffic monitoring devices out at that intersection, and I know they have talked about widening it, putting a turn lane in like they did at
I think-
BT Road.
I think they're gonna do that either next year or the year after. That was supposed to be done this year, but I think they postponed it.
Anything else from the board? Or from your report?
That's it.
Okay. Jim, anything from ZBA?
Just push the meeting back to July 15th.
July 15th, okay. Any other reports? The next item on the agenda is the planner update. Karen, if you could.
I have no news at this time.
No news. Okay, at this time, we have another opportunity for citizen comments. If anybody would like to address the board, please step to the podium. Again, keep in mind, we ask for your name, your address, and you keep your comments in 3 minutes.
Debbie lives Carbone, K01410. Just on the ordinance changes there, I appreciate you guys really taking our freedom into consideration. And the changes that were made, or being proposed to be changed, really go over like 3 times, because it just gives people who want to complain about everything more ammunition if you get too wordy with things. So I operate a business out of my home. I came in for the regular spiel and did all that. And I want more business or home-based businesses to do the same and have those opportunities. And again, it's usually new people moving into the community, and they're going to pick word by word and use it against everybody.
Thank you.
If somebody has a business going before we have a rule for that business is allowed to keep running, right?
If
They
they
can't go
have
back.
approvals, if they've been approved at some point. Like, let's say someone received some sort of home occupation, and then either the ordinance was adopted or was updated, they're considered legitimate. If someone just started logging after whatever was adopted.
I'm saying somebody who's running for 20 years, we can't then go after them and say, well, now you have to do this.
You know, as long as they were legal when they were established, whatever that means.
Back then, yeah, that's the thing, back then, that's legal.
Brenda Loper, Force 271 County Line. I stand before you not only as a resident. I believe that everything that you have in your packets is public information. So whether or not I was the person who provide you with what you have in front of you, I would have the opportunity to see everything that you have in front of you. So, you're discussing home occupation becoming a special land use. For one of the purposes that I believe was so that you could put contingencies on home occupations that you could not right now. Is that correct, Karen?
It's a permitted use.
Because there was a contingency put on the matter before the planning commission tonight that I was under the understanding that you couldn't do that. That was part of the reason why special land use would give the planning commissioners a little bit more latitude. So the contingency that you placed on the applicant tonight, who polices that? Who makes sure that it's in what you have approved to be an enclosed building? Who's going to police that? That's my question. You'll have to work that out. You made a contingent, you gave him 1 week, but what happens?
Well, he's got to provide evidence to the
To
office.
whom? It was not stated in the minutes, if I'm correct.
I believe,
They said somebody it's supposed to go to.
I believe Dakota said he would drop that off to you.
Okay. Okay.
And if that's not done, then there is no approval.
But you did approve it. Okay, secondly, on the applicant's original application and his site plan, and he spoke verbally, I watched the meeting in which he stated that the building that he proposed on the site plan would begin construction in June. There's no building.
He did say, I'm not sure exactly which meeting it was, because he's been here so many times, that that was not going to happen.
But it was on his site plan.
Okay. But
So-
he did say that because I guess he didn't have any money.
So, I mean, that was just the point. This thing is going to linger past this evening. I'm pretty confident of that. And it's not through anyone's particular fault. I heard many times, we're trying to work with you, we're trying to make this work. And he kicked the can down the road to his advantage. So he's bringing the materials to me. I did not hear him say that because his back was to me.
Dakota said that he would provide him
He would
evidence.
show that picture,
That'll
show evidence that
machines
they
and
were inside the building.
So to whom do I provide that information to?
John,
Yeah.
say, just make sure John gets it.
Provide it to the board if you could, please.
And then at the next.
I will email it to each of you, as I've done everything else that's in front of me tonight.
Yeah.
Yeah, so the 24th is the deadline. I'll get the draft minutes from Chris. And if there is nothing forthcoming, I will let you all know that. When he provides it to me, if he meets that deadline, I will email it to you immediately and I'll follow up with a phone call. And if we can't speak, I'll leave a voicemail message so you know to check. And I want you to know that your job, I don't have to tell you this, you do not have an easy job. Some of you are business owners of your own, and I was not involved in any of your enterprises, but I do know for a fact, every T was crossed and every I was dotted. You did what was required of you, without drama, with respect to the people who were on the other side of the podium. And I really feel bad how you were treated. And I do appreciate, as does the township board, the work and the effort that not only Carrie, but your support as well. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you, Brenda. Okay. Any other citizen comments for this evening? comments? Anybody on the planning commission have a comment about anything that was discussed or was not discussed in tonight's meeting? With no further comments, I will ask for a motion to adjourn tonight's meeting at 8:06.
Make a motion to adjourn at 8:06.
Motion, can I have a second?
A second.
A motion and a second to adjourn tonight's meeting. All in favor, signify by saying aye. Aye.